there's a difference between these. I don't know if this is considered a recap or where the fuck it is, but the video I just uploaded, but there's a difference between these throwaways and the number 5s and the number 2s. The camera's actually sitting on the number 2, but the difference between why I'm able to get more horsepower out of these, which I'm still trying to work it out. It worked out more like a quadrajet in the last video, but you see I get my knuckle in this bore. Alright, now here's your standard. What you'll see on all of them is it's really hard to find the number 2s that don't have to pull out choke. I can't get my knuckle in there. They're a little bit bigger bore. Not by much, but they are a little bit bigger bore. I'm able to get my whole fucking finger in this sumbitch, and then it's difficult to get my finger, yeah, like that. I got my ring finger all the way in this motherfucker. Get my whole fucking finger in that motherfucker. I just buried my finger in there. Oh shit. Didn't like that much, but how's it going? Other than I got my fucking finger stuck in it, it freaked me out.
You're trying to bring the things all the time.
Oh, whatever. But yeah, these are indefinitely a bigger bore in these throwaway junk motherfuckers, because you're able to get it in there, and it's tighter. I mean, you'll know if you end up getting one of these, one of each. You'll know, so you have more airflow. So what I'll do is, now these have got a much bigger throat if you knock the cap out of the end of them versus this one. They're a much bigger throat, and then your primary jet obviously comes up through the center. You can actually drill this one out to the same size of jet that comes stock in one of these. Now for racing, I don't know how legal it'd be, but your standard number 5 or number 2 jet, that size there, you'll match it up to a set of these drill bits, and what you'll do is you will drill this jet out to the size of this jet for your standard number 2 or number 5 carbs. And there isn't much you can do with the early ones, but this one right here is an example to where it actually comes within an emulsion tube. So you have the capability of actually drilling that out, and you will have more fuel on your idle end, the same as your full throttle applications, which I will show you in just a minute. They're very temperamental. They act just like a quadrajet on anything General Motors, but that is with this style, which they're the same style, but there is one now on Amazon that is similar but a little bit different, which you'll notice immediately that this older style has got a spring on that, and that is your standard pin and jet kind of. Well, I'll show you. That's your standard on the old ones. It's kind of the cliche, you know, what you'd expect. So that's why the race guys didn't like those, because I mean your main jet is in a different area. Here's a blueprint of basically a number 5 carburetor, and you know the jet's here, and it's not available in the same exact spot as the other one. so you don't have the ability to change the jets. But what you'll do is you can actually, in colder temperatures, you won't have to worry about changing your jets. It's once you start playing with how much of your cubic inches that you utilize, which that'll be in a different video. You'll actually start making more engine heat than you need, and you got to dissipate it using oil coolers or making a water cooled head for one of these things. So you'll end up running the same issues that you'll have when you're running a Harley, if you're a Harley guy. They're both in the same ballpark. They're air cooled, but they'll make too much heat. This one here, these are the newest ones. I bought this thing for 17 bucks on Amazon, and I already got it all tuned in, and I'm looking forward to running it. Now this is an engine that is very similar to your X calipers. They leave the compression release in. I removed my compression release to add torque. I make these 5-horse Briggs engines into motorcycle engines. I completely take them away from go-kart engines. Okay, very large difference. So you actually have an orifice tube. So what you can do is you can drill that end out to also the same size as your main jet in one of these, if not just a little bit bigger. Now I don't know how it's going to work yet, but I mean, I think it'll be alright. But if not, we'll figure it out in the video when I run this motherfucker. But you just thread it in there. Now, what I like to do, which is illegal as shit, so I wouldn't suggest racing these, but if you just want to be out fucking off, if you just want to get a 5-horse Briggs and you just want to scare the shit out of yourself, this is a carburetor to go for. Along with these, obviously, but I've had just like I mentioned, these are a lot. These act a lot like a quadrajet, 600 CFM quadrajet from the 80s. You give it gab, boom, and it'll come up. Currently, I'm trying to figure out how to bring that out of it and kind of make it act more like these. But the neat thing is, though, is you have more airflow than these do, and this up here, you can seal this cap off, or you can pull from both ends. I like to pull from both ends, especially on the cart out there that there's several videos on my channel of already. I'll pull from both ends, but this has got a big throat, and you got your main jets on the inside, which I'm sure you can see. But then right in the center of that, so you can see that brass tube sticking up. Got my screwdriver sitting on it right now. That is your main jet in there. Don't know if you can see it or not, but there is a main jet in there, and that one comes directly from the tank, just like this one does. So you'll drill that jet out to the same as a number 5 or a number 2, and then that will come directly up in the center. Actually, excellent example. Yeah, now you can kind of see it. You can see it kind of protruding the bore of the carb. Another thing you'll do is, all these are always just kind of thrown in a box and set. You want your butterfly completely straight, and you see that little bit of screw hanging off. Is that you'll want to get you a file, and you want to file the end of that screw off. Now, it's handy to have a little bit of something to protrude to allow your fuel to tumble and atomize more. But these things just like a lot of air. A lot of air, a lot of fuel, and all mine run on isopropyl. Currently I'm running on medical grade alcohol, which is like 200 proof. And then they absolutely love to run off this shit. I get this straight from the liquor store. They'll run on that shit and they love it. My builds, they hate gasoline. Mine, they will founder on gasoline. I've even ran airplane gas, and it is not impractical to see one of my engines run 600 degrees on standard gasoline. So I run alcohol. They average staying around, they stay around 250, 275, but on the top end they'll run 325. 325 is a bad temp. They don't like that. So I'm going to start working on an oil cooling process similar to Harley. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to go from this drain port and this drain port, and there's going to be an oil cooler somewhere in the mix, and the if you can cool the bottom end of the block, it's aluminum. Because currently what I'll have with these is the whole block will get hot, even though I have which block vent, another one is a different video. But the whole block will get warm. What's the coolest part? The carburetor. So it'll chase the heat up and it starts vaporizing the fuel before we can even utilize it. Now the neat thing with this one, which I'm curious about trying, is all the main jets are further up versus one of these. This is your standard number 5. When it's bolted to the block, everything's a little bit further up, so you might get a little bit of a delay of the heat problem. Now another thing I could do is I could make a block and bring it out a little bit, and I can cool that. The heat would escape from that block before it goes to the car, but still you got to worry about this like a Harley. You'd have to worry about your block temperature starting to take toll on the internal mechanisms. But as is aluminum, if you can keep the bottom end of your block cool and the top end of your block cool, it ought to just radiate and go away. And then same thing with a Harley. When a Harley engine gets too hot, you lose your bottom end torque and you lose a lot of your power. So if you can, realistically, the way I build these engines, if I can keep these things at 150 degrees all the time, they're no longer a push mower engine. They're a dirt bike engine or a four-wheeler engine. They're a motorcycle engine. And one of the things I've noticed was obviously you got to seal this hole. But one of the biggest things, which it took me a year to notice. It took me till you got to seal this hole, because they got a very specialized bolt that goes in. If you have a vacuum leak here, you won't even realize, because there's actually a bolt that's got a fucking collar or a shoulder or whatever the fuck that goes in there. But it'll actually go in there and it'll seal the hole. That's actually a vacuum leak with one of these. Prime example, yeah. But yeah, that hole right there is a leak. You got to seal that up if you want to try to utilize one of these. But yeah, I got this one drilled out to the size of jet in a either number 2 or number 5, and then I utilize the same thing in this main jet here for these. And I'd also, which be in a specific carburetor video, as I don't have this one open right now, but you can actually, you have your pressure side. I got one here. Actually, it's already open. One of these, I could have swore one of these was open. Yes. Alright. Whenever your fuel comes up through your tube, yeah. Alright. Alright. Comes up, this will be your pressure side right here. So what you'll do is you'll match up some of these drill bits, and it would be this very far bit right here, this 0225 bit at the very end, that's 74. You'll, I don't know if it works yet, but I've heard it works from the fucking Frankenstein Briggs mad guy himself, that you get you one of them drill bits and you drill you a hole right in there in front of the butterfly, and as that butterfly opens up, it will pull a drip, and that will eliminate a lot of your dead spot. So considering what these are, which you cannot remove or change the jets, they just are what they are. If you add an extra drop, and it'll all depend on the RPMs, but the and another thing too, considering you knock the cap out and you're pulling straight, you know, now you're more or less making the mockery of the more popular and modern carburetors, to where they're these little short motherfuckers, except without the bowl. But as that opens up, you're going to pull extra drip, so you eliminate that quadrajet problem. There's another thing I haven't did yet, but this one, these actually already kind of eliminate that problem. Is on these number 2s and number 5s, what you would do is you would drill a little tiny hole in the bottom of this carb. Now, especially in these, what you'll do is you got to consider where your gasket's at. Let's see if I got one. Yeah, not right on the hand, but your bowl is obviously going to be right within here. So you'll drill you a small hole. You actually run you a hypodermic needle within the parameters of your main jets.
What am I looking for?
Huh?
What am I looking for? Gasket?
Yeah, I got it. I'll be able to explain it. But anyway, but yeah, you'll drill you a little hypodermic and it'll come up. So then you got fuel pulling up through the front. One example. Because obviously your main fuel outlet or inlet or whatever it be will be coming from here. But then you'd have a whole hypodermic size of your idle jet hole inside of here, the smallest hole off to this side. You'll have a hypodermic in the very front for that, but at the same time in the back. And what I was talking about in here, you will have a drop pulling out in here, and you have a drop pulling out up here, and then you have your 3 holes, which I will show you later, up here. That is an excellent way of increasing your torque and horsepower just by itself. This thing already has that. These have already got the jets up front. They're already going to be pulling in at the front, and if you ever get one of these carburetors, if you look down it, you'll be able to see inside of the bore that there's actually already 3 holes in there. So that might be where that mad scientist got that from. But I went ahead and added another hole in here. So it will be, as that butterfly opens up, it's going to be drawing an extra drip in. So as further that opens up, it's going to be adding an extra drop of fuel, and ultimately, obviously, that's going to be making more horsepower, and it could help cool the engine block a little bit. I don't know how much with how mine operate, because I do a compression release removal. I'll take the stems and I'll actually file the bottom up. But I got a feeler gauge over here, but I don't even use it because I do them a specific way. This one is kind of more along the lines of the X caliper. I have an X caliper here, and this is also an X caliper. Don't have the side cover on it. And I'll have a video on compression release very shortly. But yeah, by knocking the cap, which is illegal, so you won't be able to actually race one of these. Far as I know, maybe it might be legal at a point. I don't know, but yeah, from what it used to be, it's illegal to knock the cap out. I knock the cap out because I double my torque and RPM by knocking the cap out of it. If you want to fuck around out in the yard and race somebody on their four-wheeler or their dirt bike, that's what you do. I don't know if I got one laying around here or not. Just got the... This one might have 3 holes drilled out of it. I might have a specific carburetor video, and hell, I might not even upload this one. I don't know. Trying to think. I can see that anyway. See the big hole and the little hole? What you'll do is you'll match up the small hole with those drill bits, and you will drill a very similar hole. What you do is you thread your brass jet in, and then you'll drill you an idle hole, which is what the small one is over here. You'll drill that right in the very center of your jet through the wall here. So you have 3 holes in here. So when you're wide open, you're pulling from 3 holes. That's already a huge, and then you knock your cap at the end of it. Another thing you can do is to drill your stems out. Well, there'll be more updates, but that's what I got on this one. Yeah, I purposely left the choke in on this one. Was kind of curious, which you won't have to deal with plugging this hole if you don't have one of these caps made so you can actually put a normal fucking air breather on it. You won't deal with that factory, but at least this time I can put one of these on it. But you will have to seal that hole if you have one of these made. You can have one of these made at your standard machine shop. But if it likes it, I'll open it up. If it don't like it, I won't. But then at the same time, once sure you can flop that motherfucker down. And I wasn't sure if that'd be a little bit of turbulence to help it atomize the fuel before it goes in. I don't know. But I'm the Briggs guy, and I'm always trying to... This is what I do in my spare time. Alright, more videos coming up.